About a year before I retired, I had a conversation with myself that changed everything. I was still working, still busy, still fully inside the life I had built. But something made me stop and ask a question I had never asked before. When this ends, when the job, the title, the routine, all of it disappears, who exactly am I going to be? And I didn't have a good answer. I had watched colleagues retire before me. Smart people, accomplished people, people who had given everything to their work and who, within a year of leaving, seemed somehow smaller, like they had handed in something they didn't know they were carrying. I didn't want that to happen to me, so I did something about it. And today I want to tell you what I did, why it worked, and more importantly, how you can do the same thing. Let's dive right into it. There is a concept in psychology called role fusion. It's what happens when a person and their professional role became so entangled over time that they stop being two separate things. The job doesn't just describe what you do, it becomes who you are. And here's what I want you to understand. This isn't a character flaw. It isn't a sign that you were too wrapped up in your work. It happened because the entire structure of modern life was designed to make it happen. You didn't lose your identity in retirement. You discovered that you were never truly given a chance to choose one. And that we are going to solve now. Think about it. From the age of 5, you were asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Not what kind of person do you want to become, not what do you want to feel, but what do you want to be? A title, a function, a role. The school sorted you by ability. Your career absorbed decades. Your schedule, your social circle, your sense of accomplishment, your reason to get up in the morning, all of it organized itself around this one central thing. Your job was, in many ways, your identity document, like a business card that told the world and told you who you were, where you fit, what you mattered for. And then one day, you hand it in. Retirement. And here's what I have observed in colleagues in France and in the research I started doing about a year before I left. The people who struggled most weren't the ones who had failed at work. They were the ones who had succeeded deeply. The people who had given the most of themselves, because they had the most to lose. The scaffolding that held up their sense of self quietly, invisible for 30 or 40 years was gone. And what they were left with wasn't failure. It was a question that had always been there, just buried under decades of noise. Who am I when I'm not my job? What I saw coming changed everything. There's a term I came across in my research, disenfranchised grief. It describes grief that society doesn't officially recognize. Grief without ceremony, without people checking on you, without anyone acknowledging that something real was lost. Because you retired, you made it. Isn't this supposed to be the reward? And so when the sadness comes, and for many people it does come, it arrives wrapped in confusion and shame. Why am I not happier? What is wrong with me? I worked my whole life for this. Nothing is wrong with you. And if you are in that place right now, I want you to hear this clearly. What you are feeling is grief. And it's grief over three very specific things that almost nobody names out loud. The first is structure, not just your calendar, your sense of forward momentum. Work gave you something to move toward every single day. Without it, time can become shapeless, not peaceful, shapeless. And that disorientation is profound, even when everything in your life looks fine from the outside. The second is tribe. The colleagues who knew your context, your humor, your particular way of operating, they disappear faster than anyone warned you they would. And the loneliness that follows isn't just social, it's the loss of people who understood the specific version of you that only existed inside that building. The third is relevance, the quiet, unspeakable fear that the world is moving forward without you, that the expertise you spent a lifetime building is slowly becoming invisible. I watched a former colleague go through all three of these within 18 months of retiring. A brilliant man, decades of experience, and he had no framework for what was happening to him. So he did what a lot of people do. He pushed it down, stayed busy with small things, and called it, I'm fine. Watching that was honestly part of what pushed me to act before I ever reached that point myself. Because here's what I kept coming back to. This pain is not inevitable, it's predictable, and things that are predictable can be prepared for. Here's what I did differently. So about a year before I retired, I sat down and did something that felt a little unusual at the time. I made an inventory, not of my finances, not of my bucket list. I made an inventory of myself. I asked, what do I actually know? What I have generally become good at over the course of my life. Not just professionally, but as a person, as a thinker, as someone who's seen a lot and learned from most of it. What problems can I solve that other people find difficult? What knowledge do I carry that younger people might actually need? And as I wrote it all down, and it took a few sessions, not one afternoon, I realized something that surprised me. I had more than I thought. Far more than I had been giving myself credit for. Because here's something that happens quietly. Over a long career, you stop noticing your own expertise. It becomes so familiar that it feels ordinary. But what's ordinary to you can be genuinely valuable to someone who is 10 or 20 years behind you on the path. That inventory became the foundation of something new. I found a platform online. I'll share more about that at the end of the video. that allowed me to take what I knew and build something meaningful from it. Something that gives me a reason to think, to create, to contribute, to grow on my own terms, on my schedule. And I want to be careful about how I say this, because I'm not telling you my path is your path. I'm not suggesting you to do exactly what I did. What I'm saying is this: the process I used, the inventory, the honest assessment, the decision to build something intentional before the void arrived, that process is available to anyone. Let me walk you through it. I call it the R.E.A.L method. R stands for reconnect. Reconnect with what you already carry. This is where your inventory comes in. Before you look outward for purpose, look inward at what you already have. Most people in their 60s have accumulated something extraordinary, a depth of knowledge and experience that took decades to build. But we are conditioned by work culture to devalue anything that isn't generating a paycheck right now. So write it down. Your expertise, your hard-won lessons, the things people have always come to you for, the problems you can solve almost instinctively because you have seen them so many times. That is not old news. That is a foundation, making the second step meaningful. Experiment until something catches. Once you have your inventory, you start trying things, not to be immediately good at them, to find out what engages you, what makes you want to keep going, what makes an afternoon disappear. For me, the process of building something online, creating, sharing, contributing, turned out to be the vehicle that fit. For you, it might be something entirely different. The point isn't to copy anyone else's answer. The point is to keep experimenting until you find the thing that creates that particular feeling of aliveness. You will know it when it arrives and will easily lead you into the third step. Attach to values, not rules. When I built my online business, I wasn't thinking, I want to be an entrepreneur. I was thinking, I want to keep learning. I want to keep contributing. I want to be useful to people who are where I once was. Those are values, and they travel with you into every corner of this new chapter, regardless of what specific thing I'm doing on any given day. Ask yourself, what do I want to stand for now? Not what do I want to do, but who do I want to be in how I show up every day. The fourth step, answer that question. Lead something that uses what you know. The final step is the most important. You have to put your knowledge into motion in a way that benefits someone other than yourself. Teach something, mentor someone, build something, share what you have learned. This is the step that closes the loop, because identity isn't just built inward through reflection, it's confirmed outward through contribution. When someone tells you that what you shared helped them, when you see your experience creating value in another person's life, that is not a small thing. That is the feeling you were missing. And it was yours to create all along. Here's what you should do now. I'm not going to give you a list of things to do this week. I'm going to give you one. Take 30 minutes today or this evening and start your own inventory. Not a to-do list, not a bucket list, a you list. Write down the answers to these 3 questions. Number 1, what do I know genuinely, deeply, that took years to learn and that other people find difficult or confusing? Number 2, what have people consistently come to me for over the years? For advice, for help, for perspective. And number 3, if I could spend the next 10 years being useful in one specific way, what would that look like? Don't edit yourself. Don't second guess. Just write. You will almost certainly surprise yourself, because what I found, and what I believe you will find too, is that the ingredients for a meaningful next chapter are already inside you. They have been for years. They just need to be seen clearly and then deliberately used. That's not a small thing. That's everything. Now, I mentioned the platform I use to share my knowledge and build something meaningful in retirement. I'm not going to go deep into that here because this video isn't about that. But if you're curious, if something in what I have described today resonated and you would like to explore whether building something like this might work for you, I put a link to a free training in the description below. It's not a sales pitch. It's an introduction. Watch it. See if it speaks to you. And make your own call. That's all I say about it. What I do want to leave you with is this. The question of who you are in retirement is not a problem to be solved once. It's a conversation you have with yourself continuously for the rest of your life. And the people who navigate it best aren't the ones who figured it all out. They are the ones who stayed curious, stayed honest, and refused to let someone else's idea of retirement become the ceiling on their own. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you know, genuinely, deeply, that you have never quite figured out how to use in this chapter of your life? Drop it below in the comment. You might just find the beginning of your answer in what other people say back to you. And if you would like to know more about a successful transition into retirement, watch the video coming up here somewhere on the screen. Take care of yourself, my friend, and I'll see you in the next one.